Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the biggest political victories in President Trump's administration, the biggest being no evidence to warrant, no evidence being sufficient. The exact phrase was the evidence was not sufficient. They say it 4 times in the report regarding interfering in the election, Trump or anyone in his campaign finance violations because of the DNC emails. No evidence to support any charge or indictment based on that. They could not find anything despite 500 warrants and 100 names unmasked. They did a number on Trump. Now we have William Barr and John Durham. The political world is in a public relations, a tumultuous sea of public relations opposing PR spins. But the really interesting thing, and probably a lot of people aren't talking about today, which is a major victory just today. So we know that Michael Cohen and the hush money payment and that whole thing, William Barr has ended that. As icing on the cake, this is an article in the New York Times. New charges in Stormy Daniels' hush money inquiry are unlikely. Prosecutors signal. So this was supposed to be a huge, expansive investigation into Trump and hush money and trying to influence the election. I believe the wonderful legal scholar Avenatti was... Michael Avenatti had a press conference today trying to revive something that is no longer alive, which is this story. But this is today, New York Times. When the New York Times is like, yeah, there's nothing here, there's no there. It's pretty good. New charges in Stormy Daniels' hush money inquiry are unlikely, prosecutors signal. The outcome appeared to be a legal victory for President Trump. But documents also offered new details of his involvement in the case. Who cares? Who cares? The issue here is he never committed a crime. It was never a campaign finance violation. What is a campaign finance violation? What it actually is when Madam Secretary, who's running again, I usually wait until at least 6-7 minutes, but we'll get to that later like I always do. Purchasing the Steele dossier with money funneled through her law firm. That is an overt case. She didn't notify the FEC. She would not have made the purchase were it not for the election. What makes something a campaign finance violation if you're spending your own money is if you would never have, in this case, given money to a romantic relationship prior to the election. Trump has done that before. A great many people do that, actually. It's actually not illegal. If a confidentiality agreement if money or a payment is included, that's not illegal, actually. People think it's illicit, and oh my God, well, it's not illegal. And people do it all the time. With Trump, they tried to say, well, he tried to interfere in the election or use this in an unlawful manner. He survived the Access Hollywood tape. And Trump, the thing with Trump, his scandals, which is really hilarious, they try to go after Trump by saying, well, he is not a person of moral standing. And then they have Bill and Hillary as the patriarch and matriarch of the Democratic Party. And like I said, it's an extension of both Bubba Bill and Hillary. She's running again. This whole thing is a sham. Don't believe that. Gosh, you think Biden or California Senator or Bernie or Warren? I mean, is there anybody? No, there's nobody. The whole thing's theater. But anyway, the outcome appeared to be a legal victory. So of course it's a legal victory. But the New York Times, even when they're admitting defeat. So this is a major, monumental, huge. Not only did William Barr end this, but there are no further charges, or no charges at all. No new charges. No new allegations. This is a media, obsession. This was an obsession for 1 year straight. An absolute media obsession. Okay, you had the former attorney, who is no longer with Stormy. Okay, Avenatti, Times on Cable News. Here you go, The Hill. Oh, this is Fox News. 254 TV appearances. Hello. Lawyer Avenatti, Michael Avenatti, made 254 TV appearances in year leading up to legal troubles. 254 TV appearances. And they give like 2 minutes to President Trump visiting North Korea. You know, endless, oh my God, he tweeted, oh my God. And they try to impeach him, actually. Democrats tried to impeach him on harming society. As if they're the, these are the people who fomented an overt hoax that said that Russia interfered in the election, which is absurd. They lost the election. In 2015, I wrote in The Hill, the Huffington Post, and Salon that Clinton would lose. And again, it doesn't, see, the thing is, like, say, well, she's not running it, she'll lose. They don't care. They don't care. They have about 30 million people. People talk about the Republican base. The Democratic base will believe anything if they have authority figures that will back and support their viewpoint, or will give them a reason to believe that, well, they're not horrible. They didn't lose on their own. It was the Russians. The Russians the Steele dossier showed that Trump had a whole bunch of ties to Russia. Of course, Clinton purchased the Steele dossier. That's a campaign finance violation, but we can go on forever. Avenatti, 254 TV appearances. Okay? And this is in April. And he might have appeared. No, actually, he might not have appeared. You know, the legal troubles happened. So 254. He had one today, I think, regarding Michael Cohen. So, a federal prosecutor signaled in court document released on Thursday it is unlikely they would file additional charges in the hush money investigation that ensnared members of Donald J. Trump's inner circle, really, and threatened to derail his presidency. How? Really? How did it derail his presidency? How? This is like the media propping up their own failed narrative by saying, "Oh, derail how? The Mueller report had nothing to even do. Even the Mueller report didn't derail, not even close to derailing Trump. They couldn't even get on obstruction, which was absurd. There was no obstruction, but I mean, you know, it's like this is hilarious. In the document, the prosecutors said they had effectively concluded their inquiry, which centered upon payments made during the 2016 presidential campaign to buy the silence of two women. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, also had to do with the Enquirer, the National Enquirer, and other people holding on to stories. Michael Cohen had a tape of President Trump. You had 254 appearances by Michael Avenatti, who, by the way, is kind of hilarious. So Michael Avenatti and Michael Cohen were two people who were part of the same propaganda story against Trump, and they're two. They can't stand each other, or they were trying to kind of disparage the other person. And you see that today. Avenatti's like, well, he was really part of everything, and now Avenatti could potentially be up the creek and sent away because of a possible extortion of Nike, which is, everybody that tries to go after Trump, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. None of it works. It just doesn't work. They try to go after Trump, and instead of actually finding any criminal behavior, because they can't find any criminal behavior, so if they just wanted to go after Trump politically, they would focus on his policies. They can't focus on his policies because the economy is great. We have record low unemployment. They finally passed the $15 minimum wage, so I give them credit for... and I think that the only reason is because of Trump's latest tweets. But they finally passed the $15 minimum wage. Their big thing was Medicare for all. That's the real. That's the thing that gets everybody really passionate. They have no intention of that. $15 minimum wage. I've always figured that would probably be the most pragmatic thing for them to pass, but that still doesn't. I mean, they promised abolishing ICE. They promised a Green New Deal legislation, not a resolution, which was eviscerated by the whole planet. And I wrote about how horrible it would be in the Federalist if you had 100% of American vehicles electric. The batteries rely on cobalt, lithium, and nickel. The world's cobalt supply is found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Mining cobalt is extremely dangerous, leads to a tremendous political chaos and mayhem, and tremendous amount of environmental pollution. People are losing their lives in the Congo mining cobalt. We now have, only 5% of U.S. car sales, a little over 5% as electric car vehicle batteries, as electric cars. Electric cars are 5% of the total car sales in the U.S. AOC wanted to make it 100%. What do you think would happen to all the indigenous communities that she claims to care about? Okay. There are other issues regarding the Democrats I'm not even going to get into on this channel. I'll probably save it for my next the other channel that I have, HA2A, which is on its way. I mean, it's growing to 6,000 subs. I'm glad that you are, you know what, you're giving me every incentive to try to get the website. I have a website up that will be everything you need to defeat anyone who has Trump derangement syndrome. He never literally said, send this person back. Again, in the tweet, they always look for context. When it was a roundabout, why don't you, implement your policies you like in other countries, and then come back. And he actually says, come back to this country, show us how it's done. So the hilarious thing is that the actual tweet is, the end of it is come back, which, by the way, they fake the outrage. They make the most, my Jerusalem Post article below, AOC makes the most outrageous claims. And the other congresswomen as well. Well, there's another congresswoman. But anyway, 254 TV appearances in year leading up to legal troubles. 254 TV appearances. Okay? And the outcome appears to be a legal victory for Mr. Trump, whom prosecutors implicated last year in directing the payment. Yeah, prosecutors implicated. These people are Democrats. Let's just get... I don't like to speak in this manner, but it's gotten to the point where just, you have to just tell it like it is. The prosecutors in New York, the federal prosecutors in general, a big part of the government is still working to undermine President Trump, especially when the special counsel, the Mueller probe, was going on. They thought they had free reign against Trump. So, at the same time, other documents released on Thursday offered the government's most detailed account yet of Mr. Trump's involvement in it. But it is hilarious. What do I care about his detailed account, what he was doing? If he didn't break any laws, what do I care? What do I care? So Cohen is serving a 3-year prison sentence, and he got out of a lot more years by selling his soul to the Democratic Party. Avenatti, interestingly enough, let's see, Avenatti has how many? Nike extortion. Avenatti is accused in Nike extortion attempt. So, he faces almost 100 years in prison. Oh my God. So if all this is CNBC, Dan Mangan and Kevin Berninger, Michael Cohen have been arrested for alleged $20 million extortion scheme, embezzling clients' money and defrauding banks. So, I mean, you can add Avenatti to James Clapper and Comey and Brennan and Strzok and McCabe and all the wonderful people All the really just, salt of the earth, wonderful, and Hillary Clinton, who's just a fantastic human being. He faces almost 100 years in prison if convicted in both cases, as well as possible disbarment as a lawyer. So, 254 TV appearances, leading to a possibility of 100 years in prison. There's nothing better that describes American society than those two sentences. People think that because you're on TV or because I've been on MSNBC, I've been on CNN. If they need somebody, they'll call you. When I was on the left, now I reach out to them. I'm like, nah. I'm a Trump supporter. Like, nah. Reached out to Fox, so one of these days it would be interesting to have me on Fox. But I'm happy. I'm happy on this channel. I'm happy in my other. I've been on RT a million times. But it's just really interesting. So they're like, oh, it threatened to derail his presidency. No, it didn't. And now you have Trump replacing Dan Coates with Fred Fleitz, hopefully soon. He's slowly, like I said, the time is on Trump's side. The Democratic Party, they didn't even win this latest battle because everything to them is horrible and bigoted and racist, so nobody listens. And technically what he said, in the context of what he said it, he didn't say for immigrants in general to go back. And he was making a political statement. But see, then again, if it's any of the congresswomen, and I can't even get into the statements they've made because it's like against the algorithm, that's how bad it is. If it's offensive to people who are of different, if it's offensive to me, for example, of my, ethnic background, that's not a problem for Democrats at all. Oh, it's not a problem at all. And I write in the Jerusalem Post how despicable that is, especially when you're distorting historical record like Congresswoman Cortez did. But with them, they're like, oh my God, how dare Trump, oh my God. It's like, well, you went ahead and you cried wolf too often. Now nobody cares, and Trump's going to get you. Well, I should say John Durham's going to get you. But this is really, it's just really great. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. 254 TV appearances, and possibly, according to CNBC, 100 years. He's not going to get 100 years, but still, if he gets 20 years, if he gets 10 years, 5 years. I mean, the worst thing that ever happened to Avenatti was trying to take down President Trump. And there was an Avenatti 2020. Okay, that's how Democrats roll. They don't care. And these are the same people who are like, oh my God, Trump is such a horrible human being. His character issues. Like, oh my God, Avenatti 2020. They were literally thinking, here, this is Politico. Michael Avenatti is winning the 2020 Democratic primary. There you go. This is in Politico. He won't be the nominee, but he's setting the terms of the debate, and that could damage the rest of the field and the country. So, I guess there's some sense to this article, reason or logic, but I guess the article is trying to say, oh, well, it's not good that he's so influential. But not only was he so influential, you had him as a big player within the 2020 field. I mean, he was on TV, on CNN, MSNBC, all 254 times. 254 TV appearances, according to Fox. And that got him to within Avenatti 2020. That's one Politico article. The Week, don't underestimate Michael Avenatti 2020. Wow. This is The Week. And people got on me for saying, like, Bernie was going to win. Well, Bernie actually, if it was fair, he would have won the primary. But anyway, Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned for a reason. Joe Biden endorsed by Michael Avenatti. All right, give me your thoughts below. The interesting thing about this article, ladies and gentlemen, is that New York Times. The really interesting thing is that not only are charges not going to take place anymore, the investigation, Michael Cohen's allegations, Avenatti's allegations, all of this was supposed to be a wide-ranging probe that even the Southern District of New York was going to be. It didn't work. Nothing that they can't touch Trump. They can't touch him. They can't touch him. Give me your thoughts below. Even when they're like, oh my God, they were saying send him back. It's like, well, you know what? He disavowed that today, so they still can't really touch him. But the sentiment, I explained the other day, like 30 celebrities were like, I'm leaving the country if Trump wins. They still haven't left yet. Anyway, give me your thoughts. Definitely try, share, and subscribe to HA2A. That's below. Check out my writing in the Federalist and in the Jerusalem Post below in the pinned comment. But check out HA2A. My two latest are Sig Sauer P220 and P226. Check them out. Subscribe to HA2A. That'll be transitioning to my new website very soon. Thank you.